welcome into the Off-Brand Sports Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be doing some deep dives on the LA Clippers and the Washington Capitals. So, some pretty solid teams. We've also got our bet segment, as always, and before that, we've got some sports news. The one thing I wanted to touch on a little bit was some of the NHL awards nominees have come out. Some of the bigger ones, the Ted Lindsay Award, you're looking at Nathan MacKinnon, Artemi Panarin, and Leon Draisaitl as your finalists, as well as the Calder Trophy, where you're looking at Makar, Quinn Hughes, and Dominic Kubalik. We're not going to talk too much about that right now because we have a full Avalanche podcast, so we'll probably get into it more there. But any NHL awards, things you guys just want to get off your chest, like real quick here?
Kale Makar for Calder.
One thing I would like to say is a lot of NHL players value the Ted Lindsay Award higher than the Hart Trophy just because it's
it's the one they vote on.
Players, so the players vote on it instead of hockey writers and media personnel and just insiders. A lot of people say that the Ted Lindsay Award is the actual Hart Trophy. I don't.
What do you think about that? Do you agree?
I actually kind of disagree because you'll hear a lot of people say well, who knows better than the players? And as someone who's been a player, I can tell you that when I was playing against other people, my view of who the best players on the ice were was sometimes distorted, especially if you're playing against someone who's on a division rival or someone who you just don't like playing against. Sometimes you view them as worse than they are. I feel like players are more biased and also just see the game from a different point of view. Sometimes it's easier to see a player really stand out from outside of the rink.
Right, but I mean, everybody can see Connor McDavid is fast, but not everybody.
Yeah.
But not everybody in the stands can see the subtle little things that he does that make him, the best player.
But
in the
I
world.
mean, it's not just your average guys in the stands voting; it's writers.
You're right, but I'm just saying
I feel they can.
That's why there's kind of a separation.
In a sense, though, the writers ask Morgan Riley who you think the best player in the world is.
Connor McDavid.
Well, yeah, after his sick goal against Toronto this year, it's Morgan Riley's probably oh my god, dude, that guy gets my vote.
Yeah.
And the riders aren't sitting in the stands getting walked by Connor McDavid.
Right.
The goalies, in terms of the goalies, the riders aren't sitting there in front of the net getting sniped by Ovechkin.
But they are watching it happen.
They are watching it happen, dude. But then there's a reason that goalies or Ovechkin has made a living in the NHL for 15 years now, sitting in the same spot, just absolutely ripping pucks. Dude, and it's you kind of feel oh yeah, goalies kind of know what's happening, but then it keeps happening all the time, and there's something to be said about goalies viewing Ovechkin instead of riders viewing Ovechkin.
Right, I think
maybe
that kind of goes into why I feel it means more than the Ross Trophy. Just if someone is getting the overall consensus, that means that there has to be some people, division rivals, people that they have to play against all the time, that can recognize yo, this dude, he's just better. He's on a different level.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that almost and a counterpoint to what Billy was just talking about, it's if one of your division rivals can vote for you,
exactly,
and help you get that award, it almost means more than the Hart in that aspect, because you have rivals that are actually voting for you to win this award. It's it's harder to get rivals to vote for you, but if your consensus best player in the league at that point, based on your rivals voting for you, other teams, players voting for you, then I feel that almost holds more weight than the riders. But obviously the Hart is gonna be the trophy to win in terms of individual standpoints, probably forever. But still, a lot of the players still view the Ted Lindsay a little bit higher still.
Gotta add a little distinction here. So another reason there's a difference here is the Hart Trophy is defined as the most valuable player to your team, not necessarily the best player in the league. So that could also be a little bit of a distinction there as well on why maybe a Taylor Hall can win and maybe McKinnon doesn't. In that sense,
But,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I feel like that whole distinction is like not 100% to definition still. It's like plenty of Hart Trophy winners are just like riding a really nice team, like a really hot team.
Right.
I mean, Taylor Hall was probably like
Was
pretty
not in that
deserving that year
scenario.
with
Yeah, he
New
was not in that
Jersey,
scenario.
but like McKinnon was still probably more deserving. And if we're talking about a player that's most valuable to his team this season, it's got to be McKinnon.
Mm-hmm.
But then it's like Draisaitl is probably going to win because he put up like 110 points.
But without McDavid, so it's hard to gauge that, you know?
Yeah, but then...
Yeah.
I don't know, Billy, if you want to add on.
Well, I was just going to say, like, earlier what I was getting at when I was saying, like, you know, you might, if you got, like, kind of a guy you don't like that you're playing against, like, it might be harder for a player to vote for him. Like, so, like, in his career, I don't know that he's quite there to win either one, but which one do you think Brad Marchand is more likely to win, the Ted Lindsay or the Hart? Because, like, I feel like
The Hart.
players kind of hold the grudge a little bit harder than the writers, and I think he might have,
that's a good
better
point.
shot at the Hart. But, like, that's kind of what I was getting at there. The other thing I want to point out is that, to an extent, this is kind of a moot debate because in 5 of the last 6 years, the winner of each trophy has been the same, and that's typically the case.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a little bit of a distinction.
That's a definitely a fair point. However, Billy, if Brad Marchand won the Ted Lindsay and won the Hart, which one do you think is like more impressive?
That's a good point.
I think
honestly.
the Ted Lindsay in
Yeah.
that case.
Yeah.
The Ted Lindsay, if Brad Marchand won a Ted Lindsay, that would take a lot. That would be
would
like
take
all
a
the guys
lot,
he pissed
and-
off still voted for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be right.
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah,
like I said,
I feel like they're different. Go
sorry.
ahead.
Like I said, the Hart Trophy is still like the like number one trophy in terms of like individual awards to win, and it probably will always be like that. You know, like it's the league MVP, not like as voted by the players. It's just like the title is the league MVP. But if you are an NHL player, there is something to be said about other NHL players voting for you as being the best player in the league. So, case in point, it's pretty exciting that Nathan McKinnon is a finalist for this, and he will probably also be a finalist for the Hart Trophy.
Yeah.
So we'll
I'd be
have to
surprised
see
if it
how
wasn't
this.
the same.
Yeah, we'll have to see how this plays out here. But
Yeah. And the other award I forgot to mention that does have its nominees is the Jack Adams. And I know it's Tortorella as well as Bruce Cassidy and Alan Vigneault, the only name I can't pronounce, whatever it is.
It's hard to say that one.
AV.
But Elaine Vigneault.
Yeah,
Vigneault.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, I
We
think
took
that's
French
it.
class in high school.
Something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we could somehow pronounce that. But out of that, who do you guys think is kind of the front
Ooh.
runner?
I don't know. I feel like I hate the Jack Adams. I feel like it's turned into a goaltending award, which was not the intention. But hard to go wrong with Torts, you know? He's one of the best coaches in the league. He has been for a little while now.
Yeah.
I mean, I think look at Philly the past couple of years and look at Philly now. I think you have to go AV.
Yeah. See, I'm gonna go the opposite way, and I'm gonna go Cassidy here.
That's funny.
I mean, a lot of people, myself included, was kind of like saying that last year was Boston's last like hoorah and like their final push for like the Stanley Cup, just because they're an aging team. You know, like a lot of their really good players, Bergeron, like Marchand, are getting up there in age. Don't really know how Rask is gonna like turn around, and come to see from this season, they go out there and win the President's Trophy. So there's definitely a case we made in that standpoint.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like this is one of the more open races
Yeah.
as far as the NHL awards go. Although I don't know that there's a ton that are really kind of locked down at the moment.
No.
But we'll have to see as the rest of the final lists are announced who else is kind of involved. We got Landy and Marshall's background doing something. But any other kind of sports news stories you guys want to talk about this week?
Some NFL contracts.
Yeah. I mean, So Dak, I know Zach was wanting to talk about it.
Yeah,
but,
Dak.
Dak ended up signing just the franchise tender. Didn't really see him signing a long-term deal, anyways. Henry got paid. Myles Garrett got absolutely paid. I believe that Myles Garrett is the highest paid player outside of quarterback now.
Oh wow,
Could be wrong on that.
That's true.
But,
Yeah, the highest paid defensive player.
Oh, defensive player.
Which
yeah.
I would assume. I'd assume is the
Wait.
highest outside of a quarterback, because usually defensive end is the next highest paid position.
This is the guy that swung his helmet, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Mason Rudolph.
That was pretty savage, to say the least.
That was very savage and yeah. But he's a
Little
very
uncalled for.
talented person. So
Yeah, that's true. What do you guys think about the Browns this year? Just a quick take.
Dude, I feel like the Browns are gonna be better than they always are. I feel like they.
I feel like they're gonna be 9-7.
9-7, eh?
9-7, 10-6. Yeah, that's probably dude. In terms of talent, they have so much talent.
That's right.
Dude.
See, I don't know, man. I guess you have too much talent to just. I don't know. I thought they were gonna make a decent run and then didn't do anything last year. So.
Yeah, I was totally expecting the Browns to, especially after they picked up Odell. I was like,
Odell, you got
goodness.
juice.
Yeah,
Mhm.
dude.
Baker just regressed a lot, so I think it's up to
Yeah.
Baker to turn the fire on.
He's probably got a
It's
fucking...
kind of what is Baker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably got a fucking fire lit under him now. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out at least strong and gives it a fucking try. For sure.
I feel he has an arm. I don't.
Yeah.
He's not like anything special, but I feel like you just gotta know your shit
not-
at that point.
He needs to play to his strengths. I'm sure he's worried about becoming the next Johnny Manziel type of quarterback.
Right.
Dude, he was
Yeah.
been labeled that ever since he got drafted.
Mhm.
Every Browns
Makes sense.
quarterback that gets drafted.
Yeah.
Deshaun Kaiser didn't even get a chance. Well, how many games did he play?
No idea.
Played like 6,
Yeah.
I think,
that's brutal.
for the Browns, and then he ended up in Green Bay or something, and yeah, I didn't.
Just never gonna play another snap.
But
Yeah.
the Browns are kind of interesting. Some other things.
The Redskins.
Yeah, the
Yes,
Redskins.
the Redskins. So on
They
Monday,
have announced they're changing their name.
no names yet, and we kind of already went over some of the favorites in terms of the name changing department. But yeah, so they are now the Washington football team until we actually figure out a name.
Yeah. My bet's still on the Senators, though. Washington Senators. I like that.
I like something with red still. I like the
Yeah.
Red Tails, the Red Hawks.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one. Red Hawks did sound good.
Did you see that someone had trademarked all of those
What?
names already?
That's petty.
hilarious.
Dude.
It's also
What the
super.
heck?
cut.
Yeah, dude trademarked like 15 favorite Washington football team names.
That's funny.
What the hell
I'm
are
sure-
you using those for?
Oh, he's just
okay,
waiting to
I-
get paid like $10.
I think he's just trying to make the Redskins
Make the Redskins buy
flinch. Yeah, just you gotta get it done now. I mean, the season's about. You gotta get branding out. You gotta get everything out.
Dude, yeah, like it's got to happen within the next like couple of weeks. you'd
Like
think.
maximum, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got football coming back in a month and a half,
Dude, yeah. I mean,
you're gonna want a team name.
you don't have
Yeah.
fans in your seats. You gotta make sure that they're buying your merchandise. If you don't have fucking
Yeah,
any
exactly.
merchandise because you don't have a name anymore.
Yeah.
No kidding. Everyone or like a lot of players are in the NBA bubble. Jokic arrived. Harden arrived late. Westbrook has COVID. So that's kind of some
Yeah.
of the NBA news.
I mean, we are exactly like 14 days from the NHL and NBA kind of starting their exhibition games.
I think
We're 8 days away from the MLB opening day. We're
Yep.
real close here.
Yep, just got to get through the next couple of weeks.
Mhm.
But yeah, apparently there's like an NBA hotline that players or outsiders can report.
Yeah, I saw
Like
this.
NBA players leaving the bubble, and like I forgot who it was, but someone got in trouble because
Someone on
like,
the
he ordered
Kings.
Postmates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
Kings.
ordered post.
He went
Oh,
outside
Lord.
the bubble to pick up Postmates.
That's funny.
I thought that was so funny. But dude,
That's kind of fun.
that's why like none of these players are probably reading like these protocols.
No.
Well, I mean, I
They're
think
just like,
they made an example of that dude. Obviously, you can't. If you're a superstar, you can't be bringing people over. If you get caught,
Yeah.
they're gonna throw you out.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So.
all right. Any last things before we move into our bet segment here?
No. Nope.
All right, let's play some bets. So
Yeah.
we are sitting at a little over $75. Last week did not go great for us. My bet's still pending from last week, and Marshall and Zach both ended up losing theirs. Marshall on minus 455 odds still lost that one. He's had a rough week, but we're looking past that, and we're looking at the new week here. Marshall, go ahead and kick us off with your bet.
So I am taking Tiger Woods to shoot under 68.5. I kind of so this week with Tiger, there's probably like, if you guys are looking into DraftKings or FanDuel or anything like that, you can see that there's like a whole bunch of stuff on Tiger coming back.
Yeah.
And this can go one of two ways. Tiger's going to come back a rejuvenated player and like looking to, just play like old Tiger, like the Tiger that won the Masters last year. Or this is going to be a rusty Tiger and more in line with the Tiger that we've seen the last 5 years. So, but anyways, I still thinking about it now. It's like, I don't really know. But Tiger has never missed the cut at the Memorial in 17 tries, and normally, if you don't make the cut, you're shooting well over 68. So I feel like that's a pretty fair number for Tiger, but I'm just gonna take the under. I'm rooting for Tiger. This is kind of just like a fan bet in a way too. Just like, let's go, buddy. Let's get it going.
Well, and going off that, not having missed the cut in 17 tries, I bet on Tiger to not miss the cut. Tiger Woods to make the cut was boosted on DraftKings from like minus 350 to plus 125, which is a pretty massive boost. So that's my bet for this week. I took Tiger Woods to make the cut.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid bet, dude.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Or he just absolutely implodes, which would be awesome.
I hope not.
2020.
Right. All right. So I've taken some time away from the show to focus on some sports betting, and I've come with a good one this week, I think. So
All right.
tomorrow's EPL game, I got Man U to beat Crystal Palace at over 2.5. Comes to a minus 107 odds with a payout of 170 or 470. So here we go. That's a win for sure.
Crystal Palace.
Hopefully,
Oh, is it Crystal Palace?
we can get back on track this week.
I think, right, Karim?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, they're
It
playing
is
Crystal Palace. Man U versus Crystal Palace.
Correction.
Plays Palace, dude.
Same thing.
That's how
It's
much
just
we-
that extra A got lost. But
Oh, it did.
yeah, hopefully we're not at our hottest these past couple weeks, but I like a lot of our bets this week. I feel like we can get back on track.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling Marshall, as soon as next episode, we could bet on MLB games, and it would make sense. So
That's gonna be hard.
we're there, boys. This is our last time, like just really having no idea what we're talking about. So
MLB's
things
like
are looking up.
a half we don't know what we're talking about, though. because
That's true, because I still don't know what I'm talking about.
I like sort of know what I'm talking about in the MLB, but dude, once NBA, NFL, and NHL come back, it's going to be a different sports betting segment.
Definitely. I feel like we'll do better, and we'll have more to say about our bets as well. So we're going to get into our deep dives for today. We're going to start with the LA Clippers. So the Clippers are just a star-studded team kind of all around. There's a reason they finished as high as they did, one of the best in the West. What are your initial impressions of the Clippers? Let's start with Marshall.
I'm going to go out there and say it right away. They are my championship favorite.
All right.
For pretty good reason. Last season, without Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they made the playoffs with just, depth alone. And in turn, this last offseason, they somehow managed to pick up Paul George and Kawhi Leonard into an already super, super deep lineup. like that includes Lou Williams, dude, like
Pat Bev.
Hazel, yeah, Pat Bev, like, and then they picked up Marcus Morris Sr. Like, this team is just absolutely like stacked, and something that's very interesting with them is Leonard and George missed a combined 35 games this season, and they still like got the second seed, although it's not completely confirmed yet because they still have to play for that second seed. But at the pause, they're the second seed with a 44-20 record. One of the best teams at home, although that's not really like saying anything in the bubble, but still they're just a very impressive team. And if they can get like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George back on the court consistently and like healthy because of this break, combined with their depth, man, this is a super scary team in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think there's an argument to be made that Paul George and Kawhi Leonard might be the best 1-2 punch in basketball. Yeah. There's a lot to like at the top, and there's a lot to like with the depth. Like you said, they made the playoffs without their kind of two best players, and now that they have them, that elevates them to the next level, and there's a reason they finished as high as they did. What do you think of them, Karim?
I mean, last year they were one of the most defensively sound teams. I think probably the most defensively sound team. You add two really defensive-minded forwards, like Kawhi is renowned for his this two-way play. Paul George is also renowned for his two-way play. Yeah, them to the lineup. They're a scary team. I don't think it's as cut and dry as everyone's been saying. I feel like there's still some parity in the NBA. So I think, especially in the West, you don't know how these players are going to come out. You don't know how. I know Kawhi is going to be a beast, but I don't know how everyone's going to gel after taking 3 months off. So I definitely think they're gonna be really difficult to kind of upset, but definitely I don't think they're my favorite.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Fair enough. What do you think, Zach?
Yeah, you guys touched on it. You start with the depth on this lineup is just unreal. I think obviously you bring a Finals MVP onto your team, you're going to be a contender. You got defensive studs all over the place. Pat Beverly, like you mentioned, Kawhi Leonard. You guys, I think it's going to hurt, or not hurt them, but it's going to be beneficial to them now that the Lakers have a couple players out due to broken fingers. Is that what happened to Rondo? Did he break his thumb? I can't remember.
Yeah, something
Was it his wrist?
But that's going to hurt, and their guy out due to COVID is going to hurt. So
yeah, Avery Bradley,
that's right.
Just choosing to sit out.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought in J.R. Smith, which is kind of interesting.
I think that's a bad one, but I don't like.
JR's a baller, bro. JR knows nothing but how to ball, except I don't know.
He forgets how to ball and runs out the clock in a finals game.
That was the worst mistake that I've ever seen in a finals game for sure.
We'll have to talk about him more when we get to the Lakers, but what do you guys think? Like, who, if anyone in the West, do you think could take down the Clippers, or do you think they are the team to beat?
If it's anyone,
Marshall, I know you think they're the team to beat. What do you think, Zach?
If it's anybody, it's got to be the Lakers. But at this point, they're a little bit deplenished. You can't count out LeBron, AD.
You can't count out LeBron.
You cannot. You've seen what LeBron can do. We all know. So it's not impossible, but I think this is just too deep of a lineup for them to overcome.
Dude, that's the difference for me. Is like, in terms of 1-2 punches, Kawhi and Paul George are right up there with LeBron and AD. But then at the end of the day, nothing is really matching like the Clippers' depth. I mean, they made the playoffs last year as an 8 seed without like, Leonard, and they sold off like all their team last season just to try to like make a push for Leonard and George, mostly like Kawhi Leonard, but still it's like kind of crazy. I mean, they're a very well coached team. Doc Rivers is still one of the best in the game. He was probably one of the main reasons that they ended up making the playoffs last season. I just don't really see anyone out west like half competing with the Clippers in my opinion. Like I mean, like Zach was saying, you can never count out LeBron James, dude. You've seen, in my opinion, I mean, he's the best basketball player I've ever seen. I did not get the the luck of getting to watch Michael Jordan, so I can't really like take into that account. But there's something to be said about making 9 straight championships.
Mm-hmm.
So you can never count on LeBron. He's that main X factor, but this Clippers team is real good.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I feel like this is a pretty easy one, but we're going to give our verdicts anyway. They're a contender. They're maybe the best team in basketball. I mean, there's you could definitely make that argument. I think, Marshall, you've said it. They're your favorite, but to me, they're a contender. You guys, anyone disagree with that?
No,
they are a serious contender.
Yeah, this is who meets Milwaukee in the finals for me.
Okay,
yeah, I'm probably on that same boat.
All right, and Karim, where are you at on the?
Dude, I mean, I just think, I don't know. I think, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know if I don't want them to be as good as they are on paper, or if I think that this break kind of will take away from their momentum and they'll have to regroup as a team. And like Marshall was saying, Paul George and Kawhi they missed a sizable chunk of games, so kind of get thrown. I mean, obviously Kawhi and Paul George are one of the best in the game, but I don't know. I think there's definitely upset ability. I think they're definitely like the strongest team in the West. I think it goes down to what the matchups are, how everyone else is post. So
yeah,
I'm taking a long time to say, I think on paper they're really good. I just have a bad feeling that they're not going to be able to wrap it up. That's my take.
Are you saying pretender?
So are they a contender?
No. They're definitely a contender.
Oh,
I think if you look at LA, they're both LA teams. You look at the Lakers and you look at the Clippers, I feel like just having LeBron and AD just the LeBron factor, I think
that's
keeps them in the contention. Man. Yeah. I think I just think
whole thing though.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no, go for it, bro.
Cut you off.
Go for it.
But the whole thing is like Kawhi was being load managed all season long, and a lot of the games that he ended up missing was because of the fact that he was load managing or whatever. I don't really agree with that, but then they said the entire time that, well, we don't really care exactly what seed we get as long as we know that we're ready for the playoffs. And a healthy Kawhi Leonard and a healthy Paul George coming into into this bubble, I think it's really scary, especially because this is what they were already wanting to do with Kawhi. And now that they had an extra 3 months of load managing Kawhi.
Right. And this is what we've said the whole time. At least I think we've all been saying this is going to help every single team, this break, regardless. And
it's going to detract. Yeah.
Not only do maybe the Clippers have a little bit of meshing to do, but so do the next best team in the West, the Lakers, with J.R. Smith. Yeah. They have some meshing to get done. So
see, which is why I'm okay. I know we already talked about the Nuggets, but that's why I'm more high on the Nuggets. You got a group of your 5 starters that have been playing together for the past 3 years. They're going to come in a lot more gelled, a lot more ready to go than. I mean, you bring Kawhi and Paul George, you just throw them in the lineup. You kind of throw some of the dynamics off. I know basketball's a team game, and Doc Rivers is one of the best in the game, just in terms of coaching, obviously. But you heard it here. I just think that they're not going to mesh come playoff time.
But
I hope I'm wrong. No, they're a contender. They're just going to fall apart late.
Okay.
I guess we'll have to see. What's gonna be interesting for me in this return to play format is the round robin games in the beginning, and to see like how all these teams are looking. I'm really personally interested to see how Jokic looks with his new physique.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun to watch, definitely. So let's transition now. Let's get into the NHL, and let's talk Washington Capitals. The Caps are a team that started off real hot. It was them and the Bruins in the East, and they were up by a mile and then they both kind of slid back, but the Capitals to a greater extent let everyone else kind of catch them. They ended up getting passed by Tampa, but they're still third in the East. They're still a very strong team. What do you guys think of the Caps? Let's start with you, Zach.
Yeah, obviously this is another deep team that could definitely win the Stanley Cup. They've done it before. I just don't know about. Actually, no, they're pretty solid to me. Daniel Sprong's a solid guy. Yeah, they're pretty solid. They got some depth. I don't know. Do you guys have anything you want to touch on about them?
I mean, for me, is how in the world does Ovechkin keep scoring so many goals?
Yeah, that's true. How old is this guy? Oh, he's 34.
He's 34.
He's always younger than I think he is. Always.
Yeah, 34.
Because he's starting to go gray. Yeah.
Pretty old to win like the
have
Rocket
a 40-goal year?
again.
Yeah,
Right. It's unreal.
48-goal year. It's like, dude.
in a shortened season.
So is Kovalchuk still on the roster? He's not, is he?
He is.
Oh, he is. That's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, and he looked decently well with Washington. Not like an absolute superstar like he used to be, but I mean he came in and proved that he could be like a third liner.
Okay. Yeah. I don't...
One guy that I really liked from this season though is Jacob Vrana. I think he took a humongous step forward and kind of became like a verge star in this league, and that's kind of something that the Caps needed, you know, with some of their players aging, especially like, you know, Holtby's not necessarily like the goalie that he was in the past. I think Samsonov is kind of their starter going forward here. I don't know. Billy might actually have something to say about that, but
ooh, yeah. I think that Samsonov is the better goalie between the two, but I'm curious to see who they start this year. I think it'll be Samsonov. I think he's proven enough that he's the better goalie. I think he's one of the best. I think he might be the best young goalie in the NHL. You know, if you're talking about that conversation between Samsonov, Shesterkin, and I know Sorokin hasn't made it into the NHL yet, but kind of those three Russians.
Carter Hart.
And also Carter Hart. I think Carter Hart might be the little bit better, but Samsonov real close for me. I think he's a star in the making right now, and I think he's going to be their goalie for a long time.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. Really quick, did you guys hear the news about Lars Eller?
I did not.
So he's gonna leave the bubble. I think it's like August 14th, because he has a child that's expected to be delivered.
Oh,
interesting.
And the protocol on getting back into the bubble is extremely crazy. He has to pass like 4 COVID tests.
Yeah.
And it could turn out that he has to wait like 2 weeks, like just in quarantine, having to like re-enter the bubble.
Interesting.
But
Yeah,
I mean,
so
if I was
he'd be
waiting on a
leaving-
child, then I would definitely probably be leaving.
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Oh,
True.
yeah. I mean, definitely. Like, hard to blame him. Feels like the right decision to go
Yeah.
meet your child as he's born. But
yeah.
I feel like that's a pretty easy one there. But yeah, that's a guy he'd be leaving right towards the beginning of the first round. Might make game 1 of the first round, it sounds like. And then that would be, I guess, if depending on when his child is born, if he came back, he'd be coming back sometime around the conference finals if they're there.
Yeah. One guy we have not touched on yet is John Carlson.
Oh
Norris
my
winner,
gosh,
hopefully.
yeah.
Well, probably. I don't know about
think
hopefully.
he's definitely the favorite.
He's probably a lock in my
I'd be
opinion.
surprised if it was anyone else.
Mhm.
Whether or not it's deserved.
Oh,
That's
he
another thing.
racked
I feel
him
like-
up. I think it's deserved.
Yeah, but the Norris is the best defenseman. It's not the best
See, this-
offensive defenseman.
Right.
This is kind of the thing.
And
with
it
the heart
always
that-
goes.
Well,
That's the
it's
thing.
supposed to be the best defenseman,
Right.
but it is the best offensive defenseman.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Carlson is.
Well, not
a
necessarily
lock for
because
that.
you know Zdeno Chara's won it, Victor Hedman's won it. So
Yeah, but if you're not the best offensive defenseman, you've got to be really, really good on defense.
Yeah.
right, and that
Like
happens
it's
a lot.
definitely weighted towards offense.
I mean, if
But
there's like a
all
crazy
these
guy
guys,
like
though,
Kel
are
McCarr
still-
at John Carlson season, then yes.
Well, yeah, and all these guys are still like Hedman and Chara are still putting up pretty absurd points, playing like absolutely stellar defense.
Right, I guess.
And
Yeah, you'll never see a guy with 20 points win it.
no.
Okay, that's fair.
No matter
That's
how
a fair
good his
point.
defense
50,
is.
60 points. But then, I mean, Carlson's defense is, for lack of a better terms, kind of shitty sometimes. But he has proven that he's like a remarkable offensive defenseman. I mean, dude, 75 points in 69 games played. He was probably on pace for 80, 90 points as a defenseman. Like
that's crazy.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, you don't see point per game defenseman very often.
No,
True.
No. So,
and a guy I want to touch on a little bit that everybody hates unless he's on your team. I think he would make a fantastic ab. Tom Wilson. Yes. This guy is definitely an X
rat
factor.
on the team here.
This guy can put the puck in the net too, so I think
he can.
Like
man.
he's a surprising player. I love players like this, and I know he'd be a fan favorite here for sure.
Yeah, he just plays with the grit, and he turned out this year that he's just like decided, I'm gonna play some offense. Let's get her going here.
He just turned it on. We're like, oh,
he's got 21 goals in 68 games this year. Like he was a goal scorer. Like not
and
no kidding.
Yeah, like you were saying, he plays with an absolute edge to his game.
Yeah, he does. I love those kind of players.
Right.
Dude, same with like Radko Gudas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You need something like that, especially just on.
Yeah, to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, you can't just rely on just star power. You need
like
these guys.
Our player like this is Matt Calvert, but I'm just saying Tom Wilson can put the puck in the net and play that style. So it'd be great, but that's probably just fantasy.
It's kind of interesting because like those guys relied on so heavy back in like the 80s and 90s and like early 2000s, and now it's like
this is like the new age of that player, a guy that can play with that edge and put the puck in the net,
like a Matthew Tkachuk.
Yes, like exactly.
Yeah. So like, cause dude, in order to survive in today's NHL, you have to have some skill and be able to like keep up with the speed of everyone else. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Tom Wilson, like the Tkachuks, like that's part of the reason that like I think back is like fell short, like fell out of the league so hard, and guys, who am I thinking of? Oh, like
Reeves.
Ryan Reeves is okay. Kind of like he's still here.
Lucic.
Yeah,
Lucic.
But
Reeves is
Lucic definitely. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I don't know. Reeves is like an interesting.
Reeves he brings that grit too. He's a valuable player.
No, he's definitely valuable, but
he like only brings the grit though. But I feel like
Vegas needs someone like that. I don't know if he would work on a different roster, but the Lucic example,
I think
he just fell off so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Back is, and then Kessler is another guy I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Just kind of plays that. And then there's also probably something to be said about them playing that super physical type of game, and then it kind of wears on their body a little bit,
Yeah, definitely.
So that's probably a pretty fair point. But at the same time, actually, like all those guys that I just kind of mentioned were, other than Reeves, I guess, were, pretty solid on the offensive side of the puck. So I don't know. I guess it's just like playing that physical can kind of just deteriorate your body a little bit quicker.
Definitely, it's very effective. It'll shorten your career definitely by a little bit. A couple other guys that we haven't talked about is their 1-2 punch at center with Kuznetsov and Backstrom, and this is this is a team. Their best players on the wing, but this might be one of the better 1-2 punches you have in the NHL as far as your centers. I really love both of these guys.
I do too. There's nothing really else. I mean, dude, Backstrom is, in my opinion, a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And then Kuznetsov is just really dynamic. So, TJ Oshie too, dude. We haven't touched on him. Like this team is, they're pretty freaking deep too. Is the thing.
I got kind of a hypothetical question about Nick Backstrom though. So let's say the Caps never won a Stanley Cup. Is he still a Hall of Famer?
No.
Yeah,
I don't think
so either.
I don't know, man. I mean, he's averaged a point per game his entire career.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't know that.
I think it's a little under than a point per game now. I could be wrong.
He has 956 games and 927 points. So
he's
pretty,
close.
just a little under.
Pretty much right at a point per game. And there's something to be said about him being Ovechkin's like consistent, setup partner for the duration of his career.
I was going to ask you, do you think playing with Ovechkin helps him into the Hall of Fame, or do you think that might be a little bit of a ding, kind of the same way that people are talking about Draisaitl and the Hart Trophy?
I feel like it helped him
do you think that swings?
because I feel like it helped him because if they, like I said, did not win a Stanley Cup, I still think Ovi goes to the Hall of Fame, but not Backstrom.
Yeah, definitely.
So I
kind of think they benefit from each other. Though.
Yeah, clearly, but Backstrom more than Ovechkin.
I mean, I don't know, man. I feel like Backstrom is one of the most underrated players in the league and has been for a long time, just based on the fact that he's always been under Ovechkin's shadow. I think Backstrom was drafted the year after Ovechkin, year or two after. He was drafted 06 and Ovechkin was drafted 04 because that was another player that was drafted in Johnson's draft. Sorry, but bust. Anyways, yeah, so 2 years apart, and Ovechkin didn't enter the league until 05, and so he's always been riding like Ovechkin's shadow. But he's always been there, can score some like timely goals, and we already know about his passing. Right. I think he like sneaks into the Hall of Fame if they don't want to stay on the Cup. But I think for me, for my vote at least, I think he's a surefire Hall of Famer now.
Mm-hmm. I would agree.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get into our verdicts here. Karim, why don't we start with you? Contender or pretender on the Capitals?
I think you got the Ovi factor. They won a cup 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I think just based off of that, and everyone's kind of starting off kind of fresh, I think they definitely can contend. I mean, the East is way stacked, so I can see an early exit, but I also see them being able to. I think they're a very like mid-top team in the East right now.
I agree with that.
You're not Tampa, but you're not
the Islanders.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go contender here. Definitely not one of my like absolute favorites, but it would not surprise me if they went on a run. Something that, like we touched on, to keep an eye on is the goaltending situation. Holtby had a pretty abysmal season in my eyes. So if Samsonov can come in and be that spark that they need, this team could be pretty scary.
Yeah. I'll go contender as well. Yeah, middle of the road contender. It hurts them losing players like Burakovsky and Grubauer, obviously. So without them there anymore to provide a little bit of offense, so middle of the road contender.
Yeah. Okay. This is an easy contender for me. I think that I'm actually surprised. I think I might be a little higher on them than you guys are. I think that they're 5th or 6th best team in the league. I think they're the 4th best team in the East. I think that they absolutely could make a run. They did it 2 years ago. They've got a lot of the same guys. They've got the key pieces still. This is at the beginning of the year they were real hot. If they can come off this same off season the way they came off the last one, they could make some noise. And I definitely think this is one of the better contenders in the league. So it'll be fun to watch them.
Really quick. And if I'm like considering like a top contender, it's probably like my top 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily match that definition for me, but I do think that they're like a really solid contender.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love the Capitals, so but still like out east is just an absolute like.
Oh, absolutely. I think this is if they were out west, they'd be the 2nd or 3rd best team, and they're in the East, so it's 4th or 5th.
Yeah, so that's my only thing. It's just going to be hard to get out of the East, but I mean with this roster and they like them getting that monkey off their back a couple seasons ago with the Stanley Cup win, dude. Like they're a team that's primed for another run.
Definitely. All right. So any last closing thoughts before we get out of this episode here? Any last things you want to touch on?
Cale Makar for Calder.
Cale McCalder. We're gonna talk a lot about Cale McCalder in our Avs pod this weekend, so that'll be one to keep your eye out for.
Yeah.
All right, then let's go ahead and get out of here for today. Thank you to everyone for watching. Go ahead and subscribe to this channel or follow or whatever your platform allows. We're available all over the place. We're actually just went up on Google Play, so we're now on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And check us out. We'll see you in our next episode.